My name's Elaine. I'm an NPC fitness competitor, and I manage the Fitness Competitors Guide, which is mostly a YouTube channel slash Instagram kind of thing to sort of provide information about the fitness division since there isn't a lot out there. It kind of grew out of my own like frustration when I first started competing or trying to look into fitness. So I started wanting to like bodybuild, I don't know, probably in my early 20s. And then one of my friends like had showed me like Oksana's videos when she did like the pole routine. And at that time I was pole dancing. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't know there was a division where you could pole dance. That sounds perfect. Find out later, no, it's not really pole dancing, but it's like a bunch of other stuff. But I still loved it. And um like trying to look up the word fitness, you get a whole bunch of other results other than the fitness division. Even fitness competitions, you'll get bodybuilding, you'll get bikini, and all this other stuff. And so it was really hard for me to figure out how to get into it when I had no contacts. I wasn't weightlifting yet at the time. And so I eventually like found a coach and he's like, yeah, I can help you with fitness, but that wasn't true at all. Eventually I found my way. So it really is just like hard to get information because it is a very small niche. And so I'm just trying to put more information out there, make it, consolidate everything that I have found myself into one spot.
That's pretty cool. And where did you actually, or where did that inspiration for wanting to do bodybuilding actually come from? Because it's not like a mainstream thing that you're going to see on TV or that you're going to see in any kind of mainstream media. So where did you kind of like even learn about it?
Uh, you know, I'm not totally sure, but I do specifically remember like literally having a dream about competing and then like waking up and be like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I want to do it. I mean, like when I was younger, I think like a lot of young girls, you have like a lot of self-consciousness about what you look like and everything. Media says like, oh, thin girls look good. I wasn't necessarily into the thin look, but I thought like slightly more muscular look was attractive. I would, buy a little like muscle and fitness or whatever fitness magazines and things like that, and be like, oh, I wish I could look like this girl. Um, so definitely came from like a a vanity kind of like part initially. I don't have much of an athletic background or anything, but eventually, I mean, I played volleyball, but then eventually I started doing some weightlifting. Tried to learn about like just eating well a little bit on my own. Wasn't really good at that. And then eventually, after I had like that dream I said, where I was like, yeah, I like dreamt about being a figure competitor or something. I was like, okay, I'm gonna find myself a coach. So I looked up like bodybuilding coaches in my area. I found one, and like in my very naive thinking, I was like, okay, if I can like get on the stage and become like a bodybuilding competitor or whatever, then I will then achieve my goal of like what being able to look like what I want to look like. And then I had my first show, smack dab in the middle, like 10th place out of like 20 girls. That was fine. I was happy with how I looked. But then like my coach didn't tell me about like, oh, there's like this thing where you have to like be able to maintain it and reverse dieting and not like eating junks. And I didn't do any of that. I just like jumped back to eating to my really bad habits. And so it was like this like it was almost like yo-yo dieting with bodybuilding for a while. I'd be like, I get in shape for a show and I get really out of shape, get in shape again. It was like becoming not great for my um, mentality. And, it's just not healthy to like yo-yo that much. But like throughout the year, so that was like 2015 when I did my first show. Throughout the years, I've started to learn more about like what triggers me into eating too much or what is like good for my mental state, what's good for me like physically and everything. And I think just trying to using like my competitions as a way of just pushing, like having that extra push to really stick to my goals and everything has helped a lot. So yeah.
So what was it about fitness in particular? Because you mentioned you didn't really have that much of like an athletic background. What made you want to like not just do the bodybuilding side and the training and weightlifting side and the diet side, but also add in this other kind of performance and like, really time consuming and energy consuming and memorization consuming kind of thing? Like what made you want to go
Yeah.
that route as well?
So I've always enjoyed being on stage. I have a musical background. I grew up in a choir and being like uh trained in singing. So I like performing, but I didn't want to like necessarily pursue music for the rest of my life. And so when I got to college, I kind of like missed that aspect of it. And I shouldn't say I didn't have absolutely no athletic background. Like I dabbled in a little bit of like dance when I was a really young kid, did a little bit of martial arts, but it was all for fun. I never like got past beginner level and all of that. So I enjoyed moving enough and had enough of a foundation that it wasn't scary to try something like fitness. And in general, I just think fitness is it's just like cool. You not only have an awesome physique, but you can like show off the like athleticism that you have. It's like, I feel like a lot of people like or like there's like the bodybuilding look is like trying to look like those superhero kind of characters, but like sure we can look like that, but as a fitness competitor you can also do superhero like things. And I don't know, I just think it's fun. It's more interesting to me. I don't want to just look good. I want to be able to like feel good, move well, and everything.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. And so, take us along the path though of that first prep, that first, getting ready for your first show. Were there any specific challenges with that? Like what was your experience during that and like maybe expectations versus reality?
As a fitness competitor or my very very first bodybuilding show?
Just your very first show in general.
Okay, so my first show, I was lucky in the sense that my coach, what he was very good about like making his clients feel great about themselves. And so I went in feeling pretty confident. He was really about like hand holding everyone. He gave us all, each of his clients, like a little printed sheet of like do this and this and this up like 7 weeks later to the show. Make sure you have your like makeup prepared. Make sure you have your costume. Go to this person for your bikini suit. Here's what tanning's gonna do. Here's how to sign up. So from the perspective of being prepared for it, I felt fine. Did my best to work on posing. My posing was still off. I guess everyone's beginning posing is always going to be really awkward. I was more nervous than I realized when I first got on stage. I think I did true novice, like I think it was a true novice. Then they had novice, and then like open. I did all three. So for my first one when they did like true novice, I was like shaking so badly, like I could not stop. I was like, it's not like we use diuretics or anything to like make my muscles cramp. I was just like much more nervous than I expected. Then I got the nerves out. And so the second two rounds, I was like a lot more calm, but still like not the best showing. But um, I don't know. I don't feel like there's that. Oh, I guess challenges would be the food part. Just because the office I was in, I used to work in an office. Now I'm working remote, but the office I was in, they would give us breakfast every morning. It was like a fantastic spread. Uh, so like walking into the office and like smelling that was a little rough. They always had like drinks, like Fridays, everyone was allowed to grab a beer and like chill for a little bit. They had snacks all over the place. They'd always have food coming in.
Wow.
Free lunches were, yeah, it's a great place to work. But if you are trying to compete, it is like torture and just kind of like staring at the food and like trying not to be hungry. So that was that was probably the roughest part. There were definitely some times where I like didn't stick to my meal plan very well. I think another hard part actually was the person I was dating at the time didn't really understand like, and I think I didn't understand others like how hard that could be on a relationship, right? Because you're used to like going out and hanging out a lot and eating out and everything. And of course that's, you know, when your lifestyle changes, that's going to affect someone else's lifestyle too, that who's involved with you, right? So we I think did a bad job of like understanding that and communicating what these changes would be like. So, we'd plan date nights, but then it'd be like the end of the week come around. I'd be like, I'm sorry, I am just too tired. I I don't want to go out. And if you do that a few times, people start to get frustrated and mad, like, why don't you want to hang out with me and stuff? And then there was a little bit of I think he was one of the guys who would get a little bit jealous if I'm spending too much time at the gym. Not that I was talking to anyone. It was just like I was away from him. So I think that was probably the roughest part, was not having the full support of the person I wanted the full support from. Um, but That's in the past now. So,
So other than your coach though, like where did you find that support? Was it anybody in your family? Like, was it anybody else?
uh, so I guess yeah, the support. I guess now thinking about it now more, it was hard to find support, especially because I was pretty new to Colorado, where I was started training originally. I just moved there. I didn't have that many friends. I knew my coworkers. My coworkers are actually the most supportive in the sense they're like, "Wow, Elaine, it's amazing that you're doing this." They never tried to tempt me to eat, and they understood like, if they would offer like lunch outings to me, and but they would be totally respectful if I said no. Um, so I think that's where I got a lot of support. I had like one or two friends who I did get to know really well. They were also very supportive. I had one friend who would go to the gym with me and everything. But yeah, my family wasn't super supportive. They didn't have a good understanding of what bodybuilding was. My mom, whenever I visited my mom, she'd do this thing and be like, "Hey, Elaine, come over here." And they're like, "What?" And I get closer and she like tap my leg and be like, "Okay, you're not too muscular yet." I was like, "Oh my goodness, mom, I'm not gonna get too muscular. Don't worry." So it was a little bit of, I wouldn't say effort, but patience on my side for them to see like I'm not doing this in an unhealthy way. This is really good for me. I'm really enjoying it. And for them to finally be like, okay, we support you in it stuff.
Yeah. It's so interesting the generational differences between like what people like stereotypes people have about different things, like what we should be,
Yeah.
what we shouldn't do. It's just it's interesting and it's how also how it like evolves over time, how it changes, how and eventually just like everything else, it'll go back and then there's the ebbs and flows of things.
Yeah.
So I just think it's so important for people to like if they like it, if it's something that they want to do, then just do it anyway.
Yep.
Don't worry about what other people are necessarily saying or thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it does help that I was like, instead of sense isolated from their lack of support because they live in Maryland. I'm all the way over in Colorado. So I didn't have to hear that constantly and you have to deal with it constantly. Um, I think be able to like have barriers or set up barriers to be able to focus on yourself, not worry about all the people pulling you away from your interests, I think is really important.
Yeah. So after that first show, was it something where you were like, "Oh, this is awesome. This is great. I'm definitely going to do this again," or what was your feeling about after the show?
Yeah, no, that was totally it. I was like, wow, this is so fun. I think I could do better because I recognize that I maybe there are some aspects like about the diet maybe didn't put 100% into. Like I definitely feel like I did like the training part really easily because I loved working out and everything. And I was like, okay, I want to do better. I want to see if I can place better. So yeah, I was like, even though I didn't like do awesome, I was really happy with the amount of effort I and what I got out of it. I was happy that I was able to stick to it. Um, for a while, I was telling people like, I think everyone should try to do one show, just one show, because you will be amazed that if you actually do it from like beginning to end and stick to it, just like how satisfying it is, to stick to something that's that hard is really, takes a lot of um, effort and just like self control. And I feel like you can do that. You can like do almost any other thing you want.
Are you looking for a supplement company that can help take your fitness game to the next level? Look no further than All Sport Pharmaceuticals. Their cutting-edge supplements are scientifically formulated to give you the edge you need in the gym and in life. Whether you're looking to build muscle, increase endurance, or boost recovery time, All Sport Pharmaceuticals has you covered. And with a wide range of products designed for people of all levels, you're sure to find the perfect supplement for your needs. So why wait? Give your body the support it deserves with All Sport Pharmaceuticals. Visit their website today to learn more and start achieving your fitness goals.
100%. No, I think what you're saying too, it's important for people to understand like it's not even necessarily just about like what it takes. It's also about like what develops along that
Yep.
path, like whatever, how long it is, 16 weeks, 30 weeks, however long you choose to prepare for a show. And, once you get
Mm-hmm.
into it, but it's so developmental, and like you said, at the end, you truly do feel like, and I've never competed in a bodybuilding show, but just competing in other areas, you do feel like once you train for something and you stick to the plan and you follow through and, get done with the competition, regardless of where you place, it does make you feel like, oh, if I can do that, then like what else is out there for me to do and to
Yeah.
try and to possibly achieve. So that's the cool thing about bodybuilding is it's like it's truly just this mental game that shows itself in a physical way.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Getting into kind of like when you actually started going down in the fitness route, what made you actually make that change? And then like how long do you feel like it took you to fully feel comfortable with that transition?
Let's see. So when I was first looking for coaches, I was looking for coaches who could actually do fitness. So it was like immediately I wanted to try it. Um, but I was, yeah, so like I said, I had trouble finding the right people, and I was just so eager to get started. I just like stuck with the coach I interested started with because he just had a good personality, and I was like, okay, I feel like I can click and trust him at least. And he said he could try to get me to fitness. I was like, ah, sure, we'll see how that goes, whatever trying means. Um, uh, so I would say as far as transitioning to it, once I finally found someone who could teach me and help me in fitness, it was like instant. It was easy. Um, yeah, because again, like I had a little bit of a background, and I was really interested in just trying to do this. I had tried to look up a little bit of information, but it was like it was unclear about like what what's required, what you're judged on, and everything. So I think what made the transition hard for me originally was just like not knowing anything. Like I don't know how to choreograph something. I don't know what's required in the music. I don't know what the mandatory moves are. Didn't know how to necessarily train some of the skills. So as soon as I found someone who could do it, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. In fact, actually, my first show I did for fitness, I originally was going to do something that was like, I think 16 weeks out. And then I realized, wait, I actually have a conflict with that. And I told my coach, and he's like, well, there's this like earlier show you could do. And I was like, huh, so you want to cut my training short? And he was like, I think it'll be fine. I was like, okay, if you say so, then I guess I'll do it. And I mean, it turned out great. It was the first show I actually did that was like out of town. It was at the time it's called the Phoenix Europa. Now it's called the USA Fit Games. But that one was a really, really fun show to do because I think there was only me and one other fitness competitor, which is rare even to have another fitness competitor at a local show or, yeah, local show. And then it was the Europa shows are like sporting events, basic sport expos. So there are a bunch of people just kind of wandering around, not really sure what's going on, just like checking out the booths. And so I got a really good audience reaction from my routine. Like people were applauding and cheering for me, even though I was doing like very simple, what I thought was like simple compared to what the pros were doing. But people loved it. There's even this like one woman who was a bikini competitor. She came, she's like, my daughter loved your routine. She wanted me to take a picture with you. I was like, me? She wanted a picture of me, not like all these other people here. So like from that first show, I had such a good experience that I was like, yeah, this is 100% the division I want to be in.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. So was your coach the one that like did the choreography for you, or was that somebody else? And like how long do you feel like it took you to kind of get comfortable with the with the routine?
It was a group effort, I'd say. I picked out the songs I wanted and did a bit of mixing myself and told him like this is how I want to cut. And then he found someone for me to like make it better. And then he helped me work out like, okay, how do I want to do a little bit of my characterization, how like where I need things to be fast, where I should put certain moves, and then all the little dancey things because I was doing pole dancing before, and with the pole dancing, had did some dance classes. So I was like, okay, I can figure out a little bit of the fun little things in between to make it a little more entertaining and stuff. So I didn't go to anyone specific. We just kind of did it together. I had my
Gotcha.
friend like give me tips. So yeah.
Gotcha. And then as far as like having to add that into what you're doing, for your prep, was that how much did that add to your plate, I guess, as far as like the stress and the time and just not necessarily stress in a bad way, but just like, this is something I have to get done and the same amount of time as a normal prep. Like what was that feeling for you?
Um, Exhilarating. So I obsess and I overtrain. And so this for me was like, oh, I'm behind all these other fitness competitors. So for me it was like an excuse to overtrain. Maybe not a good excuse. but it was like, I mean, it's not good to overtrain ever, you know what I'm saying? So, um, I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, being like, I was in my late 20s, single woman, no other responsibilities. So it was very easy for me to set aside time to train for it. Not like I know some people who have kids, so I have no clue how the people with kids do it. Um, it wasn't that much more effort. I was already like doing some other things outside of my weightlifting anyway, right? So I would go do like some fun boot camps just to be around people and move around more and get like, the more athletic stuff that I want to do into it. So it was not hard for me to say, okay, well, I can't do like burn boot camp anymore or whatever it's called. I'll do training for my fitness stuff instead. Also, the way my coach had initially set stuff up was like, because I was, very beginner at the skills, he did put a lot of emphasis on, he would mix fitness training in with my weight training stuff. So like leg day, right? I had to work on jumps in addition and do more plyometric stuff, not just squats and leg presses. Or when on my chest day, I do some extra push-up kind of work and everything.
Okay. And then as far as like the the extra stress on the body, the beating that your body takes with the fitness division, what do you do to kind of stay as fresh as you can and for recovery and things like that?
Yeah, that's a great question because I totally did it wrong the first time. I didn't do any of that. And so by the end of my first fitness show, I was in really bad shape. Like I couldn't do any of my like flexibility stuff very well. I had muscle strains and everything. So I had to see a chiropractor for that to get adjusted. Um, and I think getting body work, so from there I've learned like getting body work done in general is really important. I go see a massage therapist pretty regularly. I see a chiropractor pretty regularly. Doing a lot of stretching and things like that. And just like recognizing, okay, I've done too many handstands. My shoulder is wrecked. My trap is wrecked. I need to avoid that movement for a while, doing some stretches instead, or even strengthening movement. So for a while, my lower back was in really bad shape. I couldn't even like lift my laundry basket very comfortably. And so I actually did this thing called Rehab Fix. Shout out to Rehab Fix, which was just like this like program on like kind of retraining your movement, so that you can like move better. And so that has helped a lot with my lower back and just understanding like, okay, maybe it's not my lower back. My lower back is like telling me something is wrong and try to figure out, okay, maybe it's actually my hamstrings or my glutes are weak. And so I need to do extra stuff to strengthen that so that I can put myself in these weird positions and stuff.
So with that being said, do you feel like with the fitness division, you should maybe take a little bit more time between shows than maybe a regular, or the other divisions just because of the added stress on the body?
Yeah, or at least understanding how far you can push your body. Um, because like, let's see, is on I think my second year of competing, I think like 8 or 9 shows in a 4 month span, which is a lot, right? And so there was a lot of focus on just like doing my routine stuff. And with the impact on that, it can be pretty rough. But then there are some girls who can do that and they're fine. And I think part of that is they probably have better form than me and they can probably they're stronger than me. And so I think you have to understand how far you can go and but also be okay and like not pushing yourself too hard and not need to do every single show. Actually talked to a pro fitness competitor about this, Debbie. She's been competing for like 17 years. She's like 57. This was awesome that she's still competing. And I asked her like the same, like, well, how do you do it? She's like, I just take my time. It's like if I need a break, then I take a break. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Duh. Especially like I think a lot of fitness competitors, they have like this like they're very similar. Like we gotta push ourselves. We gotta like do every show or as many shows as we can. We gotta um, push ourselves past the limit that our bodies can actually take. But then like it's not the healthiest thing. And then you end up like injuring yourself. And then if you injure yourself, you can't perform your best. And it's like this like downward cycle. But then we still try to like force it and
Right.
it's not healthy. So definitely slowing down a lot. Like this year, I think I'm taking a full year off until I start um, competing again. And that's been great for me mentally and physically and everything. So yeah,
I think the
I definitely
craziest
recommend. slow you down a little bit.
Yeah, because the craziest part about the fitness division is like you're trying to be like this peak athlete and do all these crazy things on very low, calories on, just in this prep state. And you're trying to remember everything, you're trying to do everything correctly. And I feel like it's such this like interesting balance between like understanding the risks of it, but also, like you said, kind of still having to go out there and give it everything, even though your body and your mind aren't in like the most peak state, at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is also just how you approach it. I've learned to not freak out about how many carbs I'm taking in, because I will do a longer prep and I will plan my choreography like I've already got my choreography planned out for my next show, pretty much. And so I'll start training skills and things for it now. And then I get a head start on the conditioning, or the cardiovascular conditioning of the routines. I know some competitors will do it like 6 weeks out. I'm like, nope, 20 weeks out, I'm working on my routine now. And I think that helps me ease into it. So by the time I am performing, I'm not worried about the moves because my body knows the moves. Like, everything is very familiar to it, so I can focus on maybe the performance aspect and like look for a judge and be like, "Hey, judge," like smile at them or something, instead of worrying about, okay, this is where I need to do like a hold. This is where I need to do a handstand instead. So I think yes, it can be very like exhausting, but if you can prepare for it and be ready for that, it makes it easier. And of course, you do have to, if you're even running your routine during practice and you have to recognize, okay, I'm not feeling safe doing something because I just don't have the energy today, then back off from it. Don't do it. Don't push yourself to do it. It's not worth the risk of, hurting yourself. A lot of girls I think that's how a lot of people get injured is, especially if they're doing things they're used to. Like, I know a lot of girls will do like some kind of crazy flip and they land weirdly because their body was just exhausted. And so their muscles weren't ready to take the impact. And that's when you get knee injuries, Achilles tears, and stuff like that. So just being really aware, I think, is important.
And when you have like low energy, how do you have any way that you specifically go in and are like, okay, I know I'm going to do this specific thing, and then we're going to take an extra amount of time, an extra amount of rest. Then we're going to go, instead of like doing the full thing, we're going to do it split up into like very, very small segments, or like on this day, we're doing this segment. On the next day, we're doing this segment. Like, is there anything specific that you do?
This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout. Looking for a supplement company that's as serious about your fitness goals as you are? All Sport Pharmaceuticals is here to help. Their top-of-the-line supplements are designed to help you get the most out of every workout with ingredients that have been scientifically proven to enhance performance and recovery. Whether you're a seasoned athlete or just starting out on your fitness journey, All Sport Pharmaceuticals has the perfect supplements to help you achieve your goals. Plus, with their commitment to quality and safety, you can trust that you're getting a product that's both effective and reliable. So what are you waiting for? Take your fitness game to the next level with All Sport Pharmaceuticals. Visit the website today to learn more.
I mean, yes, depending on what I'm trying to focus. So I will incorporate like HIIT training on other days additionally, right? Just to get my cardiovascular fitness up. And then on the days of the actual fitness training, I will do something like you just said. I'll do like the first half, take a break, or maybe I'll do the first half and then run extra sprints. And then I'll take a break, do the second half and run extra sprints. So like that way I'm still working on that cardiovascular component without actually needing to risk any injury, because, injuries, you don't want to do that. But sprints are pretty safe to do.
No, that's really interesting. I've never thought about like adding in something to compensate for the thing that you're not doing, but it's obviously less risky. That's actually pretty good idea. So what and when did you kind of talked about it a little bit earlier in the podcast, but tell us a little bit about like getting started with the Fitness Competitors Guide and kind of what your thoughts were, what your vision was, and what your goals are of that.
Yeah, so okay, I have a very grandiose vision actually of just bringing more spectators to the fitness division, bringing more competitors into the division, because I think it would be great if at least one competitor could actually make this her full-time thing, like how some bodybuilders can, like open bodybuilding, they make a lot of money. And it'd be great if we could bring that to some of the other divisions. And since I love fitness, that's what I want to focus on. And I think to do that right, you have to prove that it's a business. So you got to prove that there's value for sponsorships and people to be putting money into sponsors and for people to be putting money into there. That means bringing in spectators, right? That's where a lot of money comes from, and just showing that there is interest in that division. So then, how do I at least first get people into that division? I think there are a lot of competitors who are like bikini competitors, figure competitors who have like gymnastics backgrounds or just an interest in general, but they're like too scared to try it because they think like, oh, fitness is so scary and way more difficult. I'm like, yeah, it's a little more effort. I don't necessarily think it's more difficult. It's just difficult, I think, is relative on how you decide it is. Um, but it can be scary if you don't know where to start or who to go to. And again, like I said, the information isn't really obvious. It's not out there. So that's like where my starting point is like, all right, let me just try to create this channel, try to build up this channel where people can see, okay, these are the things that fitness competitors do. It's not that scary. You can learn it as an adult. You can learn it like there are competitors who are in their mid 30s who have no background. Like I had very little background and they're still trying it just because they're brave enough and want to do it. So just trying to show that it's very possible. You don't have to do backflips and crazy stuff like all the pro competitors do initially. Just get started because the mandatories are really simple. The mandatories are any kind of push up. So if you really want to, you could do like a modified push up. You got to do a high kick, which you can like cheat pretty easily. You got to do a front split or a side split, which also you can cheat if you like angle yourself right. You don't have to have the most perfect split. And then a straddle hold, which is like for some people they'll think is difficult initially, but just after a few weeks of just being consistent and practicing it, anyone can do a straddle hold. So the mandatories are make it very like doable. The barrier to entry is much lower than people realize.
And so is there any like, I'm trying to think of how to say it, like consulting or anything like that service provided like by you or by anybody who like if they reach out like, hey, what are the things that you just talked about? Like how should I get ready for my first show? Like what are the differences? Like is there anything like that involved?
Yeah, I mean if someone reached out to me, I'm happy to walk them through it and just be a mentor and help out in any way. But really any fitness competitor, like the fitness division, like sisterhood is very tight knit. Um, we all get that we're a small division and we all are very supportive. We understand that there's a slightly different, like, uh, we go through something slightly differently than some of the other competitors do. And yeah, you can like reach out to any fitness competitor, honestly, and get tips. They'll probably be like, yeah, this is a great coach you can go to. Um, uh, it's, yeah, once you find an in, it's very easy to get the information. So I don't know if that answered your question, but yeah.
Well, I think it's too very like it is very interesting because it is from what I've noticed talking to different competitors, it is a tight knit community, and you know, even the highest level Olympians are, they're just so willing to sit down and chat on the podcast, and they're willing to, even like I've noticed like a ton of high level Olympians, following your page early on and just like supporting you, and it's really interesting how that I think everybody kind of within the division kind of has this same kind of common goal of like, let's try to grow it. Let's see what we can, build this thing into, let's help other people wanting to start trying to get into this thing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Because I think there was like maybe a lull with the pro shows for a while. If I remember correctly, there's a point where like there weren't that many shows for fitness competitors, which is like kind of scary. You're like, holy crap, what's happening to my division, this thing that I love so much. And then they let's see, and then not I remember, but like in 2018 when the NPC had gotten rid of the physique round for a while because I think they were trying to get more people just interested in like the routine part and just get them kind of like hooked into the division. So I think there are like signs that make you nervous sometimes of like, is the fitness division dying? And I would say like, no, it's not dying. It's just kind of stagnant, and it might look like it's dying compared to like wellness exploded, right? Bikini and figure are both divisions that started after fitness, and they're significantly more popular. So I think if you're depending on how you look at it, it gets a little scary sometimes where you think this sport that I love so much might be going away. And so there's always constant effort on trying to prove like, no, there is interest in this division. People do love it. You just gotta like bring it out more.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people were scared about many of the women's divisions in bodybuilding, with the explosion of, like you said, wellness and bikini really being such big ones right now. I think it's hard because it is such like a small niche thing. It's so hard to like shine a light on a wide variety of things when the audience is so small already. It's almost like it's almost like you have to like show this one for a while, then show that one for a while, then show this one for a while. And it's hard to do them all, I feel like, at the same time, doing it well.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So like, and so that's why I feel like, well, then maybe it can be up to me as a competitor to try to put the light on there instead. And I don't need to rely on the IFBB to try to highlight it. And it's not always up to them also, right? I think it's up to the competitors to prove that to the IFBB as a business, like this venue is important to your business and can help it. I just remembered something I wanted to say. Now I can't remember. I'll think about it later.
Well, I think fitness in particular, I feel like it does have this potential because it is it's something that even like non-bodybuilders can relate to with their performance aspect.
Yeah.
People can like watch a performance and they can feel that. Sometimes people can't look necessarily at a posing routine if they're not like in the community of bodybuilding. They don't really get the same feeling from it. But watching somebody do, tons of different moves and flips and things like that, it's like, oh wow, I know like something about not being able to do that, and not, like they can appreciate that on a different level a little bit. So I think this idea that fitness can grow from the non-bodybuilding community a little bit as well.
Yes. Oh yes. That's actually what I was trying to say, because it is more of a spectator sport, I think, than some of the other divisions are, like you're saying, right? People have an understanding of what gymnastics looks like, what dance can be like, figure skating, all these other kind of sports. So like, why not fitness also?
Right. And also the competitor community too, because there's a huge cheer community, there's a huge gymnastics community, there's dance, there's all these big pools of people that once they're done with their sport, they may still be interested in it. They still may want to do it. And this is kind of like that outlet for that.
Yep.
Those very large community, other, sport communities to kind of filter into this one.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's totally true, because we do have a lot of competitors who come from any of those backgrounds, right? Tons of cheer people, tons of gymnastics and dance people. You'll hear pro competitors say like, hey, if you are like a cheerleader or a gymnast or whatever, this might be like the bodybuilding division for you. And because it is, they get to, like you said, tap into their previous experience. They get to be on stage again. They get to perform and keep in touch with something that they like love.
Right. Because I mean, I know for a lot of people, like once they get out of a sport, it's sometimes hard to like find something else. It's hard to like find that connection to a community, that meaning of like putting in a lot of hard work. And I think just in general, bodybuilding is special in that way, because it really does, like, for any age person, for any experience level person, it offers this outlet. It offers this opportunity to like put their heart and soul into something at any given time on their life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
If you're tired of searching for a coach or trainer, somebody who knows what they're talking about and has experience, make sure you go check out the new Coach's Corner on weightroompodcast.com. You can find quality, qualified coaches to help you achieve your goals, whether that's in bodybuilding or just general fitness. Stop wasting time and start achieving your goals today. The link to the Coach's Corner is down in the description below. Moving forward, you kind of talked about you have this vision of what you want it to be.
Like, what would you say your goals are if you have, any specific goals for this upcoming year for the Fitness Competitors Guide and for like just how to continue to spread it and grow it?
Okay, yeah. So some things I'm planning on doing are just covering um, some more of the pro shows and just kind of kind of doing a more of like analysis of who won. I think there may be a couple. I think there's one person who will kind of do it, but she's not a fitness competitor, and so the way she explains, it, I'm like, that's not exactly what's going on here. So I think at least just kind of trying to get people to understand like what are we actually being judged on, so that you can enjoy it as a spectator and do, have your own critiques and stuff. I think just trying to get more like beginner level information out there. So I'm doing like skill videos. I'm like, here's how you can like try to learn this skill. If you, especially for someone who has no background, like here's how you want to think about it and maybe approach it. Of course, you should always get a coach, but when you're trying on your own, here's something to do. Um, I think I think overall, I'm just trying to get more people to attend and compete in shows right now. Like, so maybe just try to rally more girls. So at the amateur Arnold this year, there was unfortunately only one competitor, and due to the rules, she wasn't awarded her pro card immediately. I think she did petition for it, so she got it eventually. But it's kind of like that sucks. Who wants to get your pro card off stage where no one can see it? Like, part of like the fun and glamour is getting to take that picture on stage with the pro card and everything, I think.
Yeah.
So just trying to remind girls of like, hey, there are these shows to do. Let's support each other and let's try to get one pro out there and help it grow. Um, and yeah, just being, I think, yeah, just trying to get visibility and promote the channel right now, just so people recognize that it's available. Because like having a channel with 0 views means that no one's ever going to see. Even if someone did try like searching like how to compete in fitness, it probably won't show up. So I guess that'd be the biggest goal, is just trying to get more visibility on the channel first, so that the resource is more available.
Great. Appreciate you coming on the podcast and kind of sharing a little bit about what's going on with you and, and your experience in bodybuilding and in fitness.
Thanks for having me. I had a blast. Really
Absolutely.
appreciate this.
Yeah. And if you want to share like social media or website or anything like that, you can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, so you can find out about fitness at YouTube, on YouTube at the Fitness Competitors Guide. I know it's a mouthful. And then same thing on Instagram at the Fitness Competitors Guide. So